Taiwan's annual military drills have begun, this year simulating a response to a possible attack by mainland China. The week-long exercises are taking place amid rising tensions in the region. Beijing has held its own military drills around Taiwan, and its warplanes have made frequent incursions into Taiwanese airspace.
Not far outside the Taiwanese capital, Black Hawk helicopters approach Taoyuan International Airport. Anti-aircraft missile launchers spring into action. The choppers find a place to land, and enemy troops leap out. They seize and occupy the air traffic control facilities, but they are quickly defeated by Taiwanese infantry. A soldier hoists the island's flag in victory, and the battle is over. Halfway across the strait, on the strategically located Penghu Islands, the location of a major airbase, troops and tanks roll through dirt mounds and soldiers fire on offshore targets. In Taipei, sirens blare across the city and civilians head for cover in the subway as the traffic outside comes to a standstill. These are just some of the scenarios Taiwan is preparing for in the 39th annual Hanquang military exercises. Drills involving police, firefighters, civilians and the armed forces. The main focus, a possible invasion by China. Beijing claims Taiwan as its own territory. Chinese forces have conducted 2 drills in waters around the island in the past year.
We all know that it's a dire situation in the Taiwan Strait. We have to prepare for an attack from China, which could happen anytime. When that happens, it will definitely cause many deaths and injuries. We saw that in the war in Ukraine. That's why we need to prepare ourselves now.
For some Taiwanese, the drills, along with the promise of US support, provides comfort.
I'm not too worried. China has used both diplomatic and military intimidation towards Taiwan before. Besides, Taiwan has the support of the United States.
While others remain apprehensive.
I think a war could really happen. And when it happens, the situation will be quite different from the drill. I feel like everyone is doing their best to be accommodating, but I don't know what it would be like in case war really happens.
Before long, the all clear is given, and everyone heads back above ground. And while these are only drills, for residents of Taiwan, they are a reminder of the ever-present threat looming just across the water.
Let's take a closer look at these developments. And for that, I'm joined by Elizabeth Lara. She's a professor of international affairs at the University of Mary Washington, specializing in China-Taiwan relations. And therefore, Professor, very good to have you on the day. Let's have a look at these exercises. What do you make of them? Are they helpful? Are they realistic? What do you see?
Well, of course, they're helpful. They are actually annual exercises. The Hanquang exercises are conducted every year for preparedness. And also at the same time, Taiwan is also carrying out another set of exercises called the Wan'an exercises. And so what these do is they test Taiwan's readiness. What is perhaps significant about this year's Hanquang and Wan'an exercises is that the civilians are much more involved. As you just saw the footage of civilians taking shelter, practicing going down into shelters. In the past, it was largely carried out, out at sea. This year also, you can see that Taiwan's military practice protecting Taoyuan Airport, which is the major international airport that, the civilian airport that most people come in and out of. And that would be extremely important in the case of an attack from mainland China. China, and just over the weekend, upped its aggression against Taiwan. It sent 37 aircraft, in the Taiwan Strait, 22 crossed the median line. And really, honestly, until Speaker Pelosi's visit to Taiwan last year, China had refrained from crossing the median line. Now it's occurring with much more frequency, and so that is quite concerning.
Is Taiwan's preparation, its readiness, its level of defense, Do these things match the potential threat faced by mainland China?
That is hard to say. We might leave that to, the military folks. But to make it more simplistic, I think, the United States is the world's, strongest military in terms of global firepower. It's number one. Russia number two, China number three now. Taiwan is 23. It's ranked 23 in global firepower. It is deficient in aircraft, in its Navy, and certainly its manpower. Taiwan used to require all male citizens to undertake 2 years of military training after high school and before college. The previous administrations did away with that. They tried going to an all-voluntary force and didn't meet their quotas. And so now young Taiwanese need to do 4 months. That's being extended to 1 year military training, but it's not very serious training. So manpower is certainly lacking. Outside the regular armed forces, there's just not a lot of preparation.
I can imagine that calibrating the response and calibrating the readiness must be a tricky balance, because on one hand, Taiwan wants to be ready, wants to be able to defend itself. At the other hand, it doesn't want to antagonize China and escalate tensions. Where do you see that balance?
I don't see it so much in terms of balance. I see what's going on is China under Xi Jinping has become much more aggressive in its claims to Taiwan, and China claims that that's in response to the current administration, President Tsai Ing-wen in Taiwan, secretly wanting, permanent political separation from mainland China. So I think the thing to watch now is the 2024 Taiwan presidential campaign. Taiwan will hold presidential elections in January of 2024. A lot of this is to influence the current campaign and to influence that election. A lot of this is designed in Beijing to intimidate the Chinese population, to say, wow, we don't want to elect someone who is going to actually lead us to war, that is going to cause China to attack us. And so China, even though it says it doesn't interfere, in other countries' affairs, and certainly doesn't see Taiwan as a country, but it certainly is trying to affect the election.
And that's Taiwan's domestic political situation. What about China? What's going on in China that is potentially giving Xi Jinping the impetus to bluster a little bit?
Well, that can be hard to say because mainland China's government policies is quite opaque. For goodness sakes, their Minister of Foreign Affairs has gone missing and now is being removed from any electronic evidence that he actually was foreign minister. That's Qin Gang. And so it's hard to know what's going on in the halls of Zhongnanhai. What we do know is that Chinese economy is having a real problem. It's starting to have actual labor shortage, even though there's a huge youthful unemployment problem going on. But Xi Jinping really wants to unite Taiwan with the mainland. He wants that to be his legacy. So no matter the domestic situation, he's going to keep preparing for that.
A lot of unknowns still to uncover for sure, but for now we're going to leave it there with Professor Elizabeth Lares. Thanks very much for your time and your insights.
You're welcome.